Israel is gearing up for elections in October that could unseat Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And as the country wages war on multiple fronts, military conscription has emerged as a top issue. Ultra-Orthodox Jews have been exempted from serving in the Israel Defense Forces for generations. But now opposition candidates are vowing to change that.
Israel's clash of two societies.
Israel will exist, but differently. It will turn into a failed society.
Historically exempt from mandatory service to study the Torah, Israel's ultra-Orthodox community is facing growing calls for conscription. For most Israelis, this exemption feels deeply unfair, while others risk their lives. Almost all able-bodied young people in Israel have to do army service for up to 3 years, with years-long reserve service often following, while ultra-Orthodox men their age learn the Torah. Ayelet HaShachar Saidov leads an organization of soldiers' mothers campaigning for eligible ultra-Orthodox men to be included in conscription.
I'm a mother. Why do I need to hand my son over to the army and some other mothers don't? Why am I, as a mother in Israel, being discriminated against and some mothers don't have to go through this?
In 1947, Zionist leader David Ben-Gurion made an agreement with the ultra-Orthodox community, exempting a small number of young men from army service to preserve Jewish unity ahead of Israel's establishment. But the demographics have changed since then. With the highest birth rate in the developed world, estimates project the ultra-Orthodox will make up 1/3 of Israel's population by 2060. And the political situation has also changed. Israel's current far-right coalition had been relying on ultra-Orthodox parties to stay in power. After Prime Minister Netanyahu failed to legalize their exemptions, they withdrew their support. For months, ultra-Orthodox men went out to protest against conscription. In July, the government did pass a bill declaring the study of Jewish texts a fundamental value of the state, strengthening the ultra-Orthodox case for draft exemption. This is also one of the key issues in Israel's upcoming elections, with the opposition saying it would push through a conscription law for all if elected. For their part, ultra-Orthodox community leaders argue conscription threatens Torah study and their religious way of life. Rabbi Yonatan Steinberger is a member of the Slonim Hasidic community, one of the most radical communities in their objection to the conscription. He says the differences lie in the perception of how the Jewish people should keep itself safe.
The day that the Jewish burden is carried equally on all our shoulders, meaning that we can be certain that Judaism lives on, that the study of the Torah lives on, once the seculars also start observing its laws, then we will go into the army.
This internal Israeli debate promises to rage on, with its outcome potentially defining Israel's security, society, and economy for decades to come.
We're joined now by Professor Gideon Rahat from the Department of Political Science at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Welcome, TDW, Professor. So this dispute over draft exemptions for the ultra-Orthodox has existed for decades. So why has it now become one of the most divisive issues in Israeli society?
It has to do with two things. First, it's because of the war, the last war. The military is stressed. It needs more, especially combat soldiers. And the fact that a large part of society does not come to serve is a problem. The second, it's a political issue. And this is one of the, let's say, the best issue for the opposition to stress in the next elections, because this is something that really talks to many people and also especially to those voters who float between voting for the Netanyahu bloc and to the other bloc.
I'd like to get to the political dimension in just a moment, but if we just look at the argument by ultra-Orthodox leaders, they say that religious study contributes to the survival and identity of the Jewish state. Is this argument still persuasive in Israel today?
It depends who you ask. People who are ultra-Orthodox maybe think it, but people do not really buy this claim because they are not trying to exempt only people who study the Bible, for 10 hours a day. They try to exempt all of the ultra-Orthodox, even those that do not spend a minute a day in studying the Bible, because they're afraid that people who will go to do a military service will leave their community because they will be exposed to the outside modern world.
And at the same time, of course, we're hearing that the army needs more soldiers, and yet various governments have struggled to change the system. You touched upon it just a moment ago. So how much of all of this is really being driven by coalition politics and, as you mentioned, the influence of ultra-Orthodox parties, or is there something else behind it?
No, it's an issue that is over there for the last decades. It's a hot potato. The politicians cannot solve it. Then it comes to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is trying to throw the hot potato back to the politicians. It's there, and there are some people that argue that this is something that we need to live with, and because the military might have enough soldiers, and if it will recruit the ultra-Orthodox, it will create obstacles to the service of women who become an important part of the Israeli military over time.
All right, you call it a hot potato. So, in other words, Israel has somehow managed this issue without resolving it, but can it keep doing that? I mean, we have to look at the changing demographics in the country. Will there need to be some sort of resolution?
It depends on many things. I mean, there was a claim once upon a time that the military should be small and smart. Now people argue that it cannot be small and smart because you need more boots on the ground. So this have to do also with this type of professional debate. Then we have the principal debate. If my kids serve in the military, your kids should also. You shouldn't be exempted because you belong to a specific group. And then there is the question, the practical question, whether you can really recruit someone who doesn't want to be recruited, who doesn't want to serve.
Well, this issue is clearly very emotional. A lot of the opposition parties have been saying that they intend to revoke this exemption. Could this issue determine who ends up forming Israel's next government?
Yeah, I think it does, because the voters, especially those voters that will decide the elections, do not like the fact that the ultra-Orthodox do not serve. So I think this is a very important issue. This is the fact that we are talking about it shows that the opposition has succeeded in setting the agenda. Okay, so that's one thing. For Netanyahu, for his bloc, it's better to talk about other things.
We've also seen this debate reach the highest levels of Israel's political and legal system. So is it perhaps more than just a question of who serves in the army? What is it saying about democracy in Israel right now?
It says that Israel is a pluralistic society. It's a society with a lot of social rifts, and that we have some type of equilibrium that held for a long time. This equilibrium was broken a few years ago by populism, by Netanyahu, by the way that he take half of the population against the other half. And so the best issue for the other half of the population is the issue of the recruitment of the ultra-Orthodox as the big question about equality, about the state of Israel, about the future of Israel.
That was Professor Gideon Rahat from Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Many thanks indeed for all of your insights. We appreciate it.
You're most welcome.